Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. If you haven't done so, please click on the subscribe button. Come back here every week because I have new videos uploaded every week just for you. In today's video, we are going to take a look at this Seiko SRP483K1. Now this is commonly known as the Baby Monster. It is a Seiko 5 watch. It is not a real diver, it is a dive style watch. Why do I say so? Because it has no professional diving specs such as screw down crown, it's got 100 meters water resistance, and it has no loom pip. So in terms of looks, it's got a rotate bezel, countdown timer and all that, but it is not a true blue diver watch. Another thing to note about this watch is that despite the nickname Baby Monster, there is nothing baby about it in terms of dimension, in terms of weight. It is not a baby at all. In fact, it could be heavier than the actual Seiko Monster. And that leads me to believe that it is called a Baby Monster only because of the inferior specifications such as non-screw down crown, etc. So it is named Baby Monster because of all these reasons. I must also clarify that this is not a brand new watch. I bought this watch used. I got it about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I got this only because I want to see if it's a viable substitute for the classic Seiko Orange Monster. Now the Monster that I'm talking about is the second generation SRP483. I love that one because it's got that shark tooth kind of indices, but this blocky indices here, I think they're more faithful to the first gen SKX 781 Orange Monster. So I hope through this video review I can share with you my thoughts and feelings on this watch. Let us just start with the specifications. Now this is a huge watch. It has a 44mm case. The bezel is also about 44mm. The dial size though is about 32mm, and it's got a thickness of 13.2mm from the base of the display case back to the top of the edge of the bezel. Alright, the strange thing is the bezel actually slopes inwards. You can see from here that it slopes inwards where it meets the flat Harlex crystal. The Baby Monster also has a lug width of 22mm, so I think straps shouldn't be a problem. Changing straps is not a problem with this watch. Just bear in mind that this one here does not take fat bars. The lug-to-lug for this watch is also very long. It is 51mm. And finally, it's got a non-screw down crown, and the crown is 6.3mm in size. So powering this watch is the 4R36, which is actually the same movement as the Seiko Turtle and many other entry-level Seiko watches. It also has 100 meters water resistance. So let us now talk about the bracelet here. It is not a solid link bracelet. Not too sure if you can see that there's a line dividing the link. Let me just wipe away all these fingerprints and smudge. So, okay, you can see that there's a line across the links here. So it's a sign that it is not a full solid link bracelet, but it does the job pretty well. It looks okay, it looks alright. Alright, so over here it's also got solid end links, but only because of the fact that this one here has got straight end link, which is why it is not the hollow end links like many Seiko 5 watches. And this being a Seiko 5 watch, it also does not have a diver's extension, unlike the Pro Spec series where you get sort of a flip out diver's extension to wear over your wetsuit. So despite not being a solid link bracelet, I actually find this bracelet acceptable. I would say it's very serviceable. You can definitely wear it without any problems. I have no issues at all with this bracelet. And in terms of weight, this watch here is pretty heavy. I've got 4 links removed from my wrist. My wrist size is 17 centimeters, and despite removing 4 links, the watch still weighs in at 171 grams. So let's do a comparison between my Seiko Samurai. So I always rate the Samurais and Turtles. I see them as the basic entry-level Seiko divers. So this one here comes in at about 173 grams with 5 links removed. And these two watches are about the same weight. And finally, let's talk about the street price for the Baby Monster. At the time of this video, the Baby Monster goes typically for about 280 290 Singapore dollars. You can find them easily over at grey dealers. So I think in terms of availability, this watch is still out there in the market, so I'm not too sure if the prices will go up once they've been discontinued. So I've just zoomed in a little bit for you to look at the watch clearly, and I'm going to talk about the design elements of this watch. I am telling you, I love these blocky indices. I just love them, and I also love the black borders and outlines found everywhere on this watch. The indices are bordered in black. The hands, the Monster style hands, are bordered in black, as is the chapter ring. The entire chapter ring is black with white prints, and I have to tell you, I love the black day-date. This is how all day-date should be done. Alright, Seiko, stop doing that white day-dates on your turtles. Alright, and I will stop selling my turtles. On the other hand, I'm not so sure about the bezel. Don't get me wrong, I think the bezel is okay. It's of decent quality. The brushing here is pretty nice. It's got a radial brushing. What I'm not so sure about is all this paint on the engraved numbers. Numbers are engraved and there's sort of a paint filled onto it. I'm not so sure if they'll withstand usage, long usage or daily use. I think if you were to wear these watches with painted indices like this, I think for sure the paint is going to chip off or wear off or come off. I actually feel that all this painting here has sort of made the watch look a little bit cheaper. And finally, I also like to tell you, I love the applied Seiko logo, as well as the Seiko 5 shield, or the Superman shield they call it. Many fans are very unhappy about this shield here, but I'll tell you, I'm actually okay with it. On the other hand, I'm not okay with the sports word printed under the shield. I think it is highly unnecessary. They shouldn't even print the word sports under the logo. And now I'm going to switch off the studio lights to show you how good the lume is. I have a feeling these blocky indices, they should light up very brightly in dark conditions. And boom, I would say it's pretty good. I'm impressed. I think, despite being a non-pro specs diver, the lume is just as bright. Seiko Lumi Bright never disappoints. And I'm going to bring in my Samurai to do a comparison. Now both these watches, they've been blasted with my UV torch, and you can see that it doesn't lose out very much to the Samurai. And now let's have a look at the wrist shot of this watch on my 17cm wrist. It is a huge watch, and it looks even bigger on my small wrist. Now what's made it worse is that it's got a very long lug to lug length, and you don't see much of the strap. So the strap actually comes down almost at 90 degrees, and I would say that's a no-no when it comes to wearing a watch. You're basically looking at the watch face and you don't see anything about the strap. So I think the chunky side with no bevels or curve inwards again makes wearability an issue. This watch here is really heavy and top heavy. Alright, it's got a chunky profile, and I think it's not a very comfortable watch for daily wear. So all in all, I say I really love the colors, the design of this watch. I love the indices, the blocky indices. I love the black outline everywhere on this watch. I think these things, they really make the dial stand out. They make the watch pop. But the thing is, the build quality of this watch, especially in terms of the case, honestly, I'm not a big fan. You'll be surprised. I'm actually okay with the bracelet. Sure, it is not a solid link bracelet, but it's not the worst. It's bad, but it's not the worst. Let me just show you another watch with a much more inferior bracelet. So this is the Nairobi, the Casio Calculator DBC32. Just take a look at the bracelet here. It is a folded bracelet, and this one is what I mean by the bottom level when it comes to bracelets. So for a bracelet like this one, yes, it is non-solid, it is hollow links, but I think it's pretty okay. What I find lacking about this watch is in terms of case construction. The build quality is just not there. All these lines here, let me just wipe off all these fingerprints. They are just very annoying. The other day I got a complaint from one of the viewers about fingerprints appearing on my videos. Okay, first world problems. You get high definition videos, then people complain about fingerprints. So just take a look at the case sides here. Now all these sides here, they look like they are still incomplete. I get the feeling that they're incomplete. It's like the initial machining is done, but there's still some work to be done in terms of refining the edges or the curves. Okay, I know this is a chunky watch design, but let me just compare this to the Samurai. I'll bring in the Samurai. I'm going to show you what I mean. So the Samurai is yet another chunky watch. It's got you know, hard lines, chiseled lines, but take a look at the sides here. It looks like these cuts are purposefully made. The machining is done well. It's purposefully made, and comparing that to the Baby Monster, all these cutouts, they look like they still need some kind of finishing or some attention for it to be complete. So I think this is one of the reasons why it is known as it is under the Seiko 5 series and not under the Pro Spec series. Yet another feature that I'm not a fan of is the bezel. The bezel here offers no grip whatsoever. The sides here is polished, and they've got these small little grooves or cutouts at every 10 minutes or so. So there's practically no grip. Smooth. So maybe you have to use your fingernail and, you know, lodge it into the groove here and then start to turn the bezel, which is a 120 click bezel. Action is pretty good, minimal back play, but if you compare this to my Samurai, you will see immediately that this one has got that really nice knurling for you to grip. So to answer the question that I asked myself earlier in this video, is the Baby Monster SRP483, is it a viable substitute for the actual Seiko Monster? The answer is of course no. It's a no. Alright, so by buying this watch, although it's got a really nice orange dial, the shade of orange is also very nice. It's beautiful, nice indices, big bright lume and all, but it is not a viable substitute at all for the actual Monster. So you probably need to fork out the premium to buy a second-hand Monster if you're really looking for one. Pay the crazy premium. I think people are asking about $500, and the conditions are just quite terrible. So if not, you may have to go down the homage route. I think brands like Hamdal, they are selling orange Monster homage, so maybe that's a better way to go if you're looking for an orange Monster, because this one here, well, it's orange, it's got these blocky indices, it's got the same style hands, it's a Seiko, it's got the same movement as a second generation Monster, but overall the feel, the build quality, I don't think it's the same as the Seiko Monster. So there you have it. That was my review of the Seiko Baby Monster SRP483K1. It is not a good substitute for the classic orange Monster. It is still a decent watch. It's got, you know, good movement, hex and hand winds. It looks good. The dial looks really good. But if you're looking for that viable substitute to the orange Monster because you don't want to pay a hefty premium for a used one, I don't think this is the answer. Alright, so until the next episode of the Watch Kaki, this is the Watch Kaki and George. We're gonna say goodbye for now. Bye bye.